So they reached out to my sister.
Did you shut it off?
Just sometimes you're supposed to be private, but he actually left Saturday to Germany.
Well, mine would be basic.
I don't just bring started to tank. I mean, that's just like, oh, well, actually, so he's not
Because I only went to
you take your hammer and you hang it between cheeks in the back. That's yeah. So I'm gonna reach out. I apologize. I just so totally off the radar for the past like month or so. So I want to how'd you meet with them? We're gonna very nice. Good. She on board?
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the bad.
She's just.
No, this thing, you know, I just started. In my opinion, comes out.
We can't do it. Yeah. Yeah, we don't. We have got a lot of doctors. Across the. We want to support this consistent.
Or they've been great. I mean, I wish we were, you know, say we're open weekend for school does, you know, or something like that right now, but I don't think we can say that, you know. So, yeah, easy to do that. I keep telling myself, yeah, I gotta bring some batteries.
Right. Right. So they need.
Yeah.
Don't we have some at the office?
Yeah, we have some.
I should have brought some. I didn't think about it.
Ever seen that? It's like a little mini suitcase. And it holds about 300 bed.
Holy moly.
And it's, you know, so then you go have this major bag. I bought it for
We have a box, battery box.
and they're all messed up.
$6.59 whatever.
Yes. I bought it for her. She loved it.
You have time on here, don't you?
Yeah, it's 6:59.
Actually, John, we have time on here.
Yeah. Batteries in there was a lot of size.
Sure, right on the shelf.
Okay, thank you.
It's almost 7.
John, everybody's is back. Now we have this update.
Yeah, you want me to move it?
I just want to remember the instruction. Started.
Pretty happy. Huh?
Scott, just my first.
Yeah, she does.
I got a short.
Call the meeting order, please stand as pledge. Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Move on to public comment. We ask that you would like to participate in public comment. You can do so from your seat or from the podium. If you would please provide your name, address, and we would limit comments to 3 minutes until everyone is in chance to speak, and then we'll go back around again. Move on to communications. Bonnie?
The hunt licenses are on sale now. We've had some people coming in. Otherwise, pretty quiet right now, but we are selling hunt licenses.
Sheldon is out of town tonight, attending some grandchildren. Karen?
Nothing,
Cindy?
just a couple of things regarding the library. The library board of trustees did hire a new director, and her name is Lila Grills. And also they reported that their summer reading program is good, had fantastic attendance, and they received many compliments on it.
Thank you. Tom?
My board's been pretty slow.
John?
There's a concurrent meeting this evening at the Honeyett Falls ambulance clinic, or not clinic, but building. And it's a preview by the architect of the new fire hall. So it's going on. I'm on that committee, but was kind of interested. So progress underway.
Great. A couple of things. I did register the elected officials from the town of Mendon for the Mendon Fire Department Parade, which will take place at noon on September 11th.
What time is that?
I'm sorry?
What time is the parade?
Noon. Usual places to line up, probably I plan on getting there a good, probably 40 minutes to 50 minutes early, because they do block off the road. The new lights for the falls have come in, just waiting on Larry to fit them into his schedule. I thought he was gonna get them done last week, so something must have come up. Let's see. I was in a webinar recently regarding open meetings law, and one of the points they did point out that if you have a person on the board who is participating remotely at a different location, we are to provide the address that they're participating from. Why, I couldn't tell you. I think maybe either Tom or Karen might want to go backwards and talk a little bit about their audit.
Oh,
You want to go ahead?
Karen and I successfully sat down and audited the court receipts, and they're in order.
Great, thank you. Also, I did send out a letter to the Mendon Fire Department in support of the parade, which they needed to send to the state and county and to have the parade. Met with Jennifer Carbonell, who had previously been in a position at the youth center, and talked to her a little bit about the possibility of reopening pending COVID. And participated in the library story time at Harry Allen Park. It was great to see the children there. It was very enjoyable. As I mentioned, we did some webinars on open meetings law and financial conditions this month. Met with the new librarian, Lila Grills, very nice lady. Her husband is Steve Grills, who performs around the Rochester area with a band, and he and all of his brothers went to school here. So I'm not familiar with him personally, but I am familiar with some of his siblings. And summer rec is wrapped up last week. I sent the board via email an email about everything that happened during summer rec. Obviously, it didn't happen last year, so I thought that they did a great job. I commend Kim Roberts. I know she put a lot of work into it, and it was really happy to see as many things.
Pictures were awesome. Yeah, they
Yeah,
really were.
they
They
were
really
great.
were fantastic.
I was glad to see as many things go on that normally happen, that didn't happen last year, so, you know, these little things we take for granted, this thing is really, at least for me, is recognize some of those, events. Move on to supervisor's monthly report.
I'll make a motion to acknowledge receipt of the supervisor's monthly report for July 2021.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
It was great. This whole year.
Yes, we've received 86% of our revenue, we've expensed 49% of our, expenses, which is always a good sign. And, although we do have several projects coming up, we also have, we're expecting to be reimbursed for several road projects in the near future. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Town clerk's monthly report.
Make a motion to acknowledge the receipt, excuse me. Yeah, to acknowledge the receipt of the town clerk's monthly report for July 2021.
Second.
Any discussion? And as you can see, you know, as typical this time of year, building permits tend to add up to quite tidy stuff this time of year. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we have minutes from the June 14th meeting.
Make a motion to approve the regular town board meeting from June.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Move on to the abstract. I'm sorry, excuse me, budget transfers and adjustments.
Make a motion to approve the budget items, budget adjustments as noted in our agenda.
So the very first one, which is the ARPA, that's the funding of approximately $655,000 we've received from the state of New York, that actually came from the federal government. And that is to reimburse the library, the L fund, for expenses related to COVID. They put up some plastic, purchased some cleaning fluids, that type of thing, which is allowable under the that American Resource, I forgot now what it all stands for, but anyway, that's what that's for. We did buy a chip scanner for our dog control officer. So when it comes to lost animals, sometimes that helps out a little bit if you can utilize that. And the ECB's been meeting a little bit more often, so put a little money in there. The comp plan update is for Labella. They're finished their operations and put some money in there for a deputy building inspector, which is later in the agenda, and for traffic control equipment, which is also later in the agenda. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Now we'll move on to vouchers.
I'll make a motion to approve all claims and vouchers number 21-519 to 21-579 on general abstract 21-08 amount of $152,628.69. And I'd just like to note that there is, one of the vouchers was quite significant for the highway department for $97,000, a little over $97,000. And that money a little over $92,000. That will be coming back to us through CHIPS. And also, we have some money coming back to us from Pave New York. Just about $25,000 there. And then emergency weather related items, correct? Just about $20,000 coming back to us for a total of $136,815.63. And Andy submits all of that to the state and the state reimburses us. So we will be getting that back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for doing that paperwork.
And I'd also like to acknowledge that the library vouchers number 21-019 to 21-105 and library abstract 21-08 in the amount of $5,037.12 presented to the town board of payment.
We have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We'll move on to the report from the Citizens Advisory Committee for our military memorial. We have some of the individuals from the committee here. You guys so nice enough to chair that, so I'll turn it over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a copy of this?
Representing the families with us, every one of our meetings. They joined tonight. Our committee was also served by Cindy Carroll and Tom Dwyer. So we are all here to represent the committee and report that we committed to. You established this Citizen Advisory Board for Military Memorial in your March 8th resolution. We asked for options and make recommendations to the town board that will honor the lives, memories, and sacrifice of National Guardsmen in CW5 Stevens, CW4 Christian Cook, and CW2 Daniel Pryor. Our report is before you now in hard copy. Previously received it electronically and is projected here courtesy of Andy Bassett for reference that we may need. This comprehensive report assures that we met your charge. We document verification of procedural requirements and include reference materials together with our recommendation of an overall memorial concept that can be presented by you to the family, the public, and then designers, architects, and contractors who will begin to start the building process. We acknowledge value-added contributions from resident homes, graciously represented the Guardsmen's families, acknowledge town officials and town staff who provided records, supported our committee work, and facilitated communication among us and our public interface. We include a glossary and draw your attention here as we define our use and meaning of some familiar terms that are subject to interpretation, but they are specified there for your reference from our use. Across 7 meetings, we established priorities, considered family suggestions, focused our attention to identify concepts that would guide design for a memorial and lead us to recommend an appropriate site. As we gained clarity and consensus, we began to visualize how our concepts might be configured for a memorial and sited on town property. We examined an inventory of town property, and although it's vertically there, you have it in hard copy in front of you. And we began to cross-reference our concept components listed ahead of this table report for access, geography, current uses, existing infrastructure, and supporting amenities that we felt might be necessary for a memorial. Our recommendations include 2 proposals for your consideration. You will note that on on table 2, which is on page 4, both of the concepts that we will, proposals that we will present to meet the concept components that are before the tables in the report. So our primary proposal cites the memorial within parkland on the highway garage on Semmel Road. Danny's going to show you a graphic. And from here you will see that in green are the parklands, and adjoining is a separate parkland parcel, Drisbeck Field in purple, and then the highway garage is in the center so that you have an orientation. And recreational pursuits for all ages. There's adequate space, ease of public access, and ready availability for town forces who can maintain the site. We are aware the town is considering additional recreational features on this site. Additional features will attract more visitors and potentially draw them to the memorial. Learning about the guardsmen, their mission, and their sacrifice will be available to all who come to this active and vibrant town park. Number 2 in the report is our alternate proposal, and it cites the memorial in a quieter, more reflective environment. It is the front yard of the old library at 15 Monroe Street, now home to the Mentor Youth Center. And as you can see where Danny's looking at the cursor, it's the former library buildings, and the front yard is at the Monroe Street pavement. The site is more accessible to pedestrian traffic. It is located in the village of Pontiac Falls, served by public sidewalks, and linked by a separate sidewalk that connects the site to the public parking lot at the current Mentor Library. Unlike the Semmel Road parkland, this site has space limitations defined by the property's footprint. The site is in distinct contrast to personal experience from our primary proposal. This report also includes an addendum that highlights a number of suggestions that emerged from our discussions, and we hope to share this information across your interface with community organizations. Those suggestions are enumerated in the addendum toward the end of the report. Our report formally documents our due diligence and conveys our recommendation. However, the nature of our effort and our rationale is not fully disclosed by ink on paper. The memorial graphic, designed by Sarah Martin, captures the essence and the soul of what words alone cannot fully express. Her work is our dedication page, and it stands alone as an epigraph at the front of our report, immediately behind the title page. We will ask you to refer to it as our fellow committee member, retired Army Colonel Peter Lenning, a former member of the General Support Aviation Battalion, shares the unit's message and mantra depicted on the graphic, so you may better understand our proposal as a tangible reflection to honor the lives, memory, and sacrifice of Guardsmen Skoda, Cole, and Pryor.
You've heard some of these comments before. I was asked to speak at a gathering out at the site a few weeks ago, so I want to sum up review a little bit. But basically, good evening and thanks for hearing our committee's findings and honoring the men that on 20 January 2021 paid the ultimate price in their service to our nation. I did not personally know CW5 Stephen Skoda, CW4 Kristen Cope, or CW2 David Brill, but I know I would have loved to have worked with them. I've had the privilege and honor to command, work with, fly with, and deploy with thousands of soldiers of my career, but the warrant officers are the most distinctive and skilled. Warrant officers are the unique breed of soldier that are true artisans of their craft. Everyone looks to them for their knowledge and skills, and are the strength of Army aviation and the medical mission of medevac. Aviation itself is dangerous, and I would suggest Army aviation and the medevac mission is one of the most challenging. Helicopter pilots will tell you, helicopters don't fly, but they beat the artist mission. Aviators are proud of their skill, and these pilots had immense experience and resumes to back it up. Between them, they had at least 5 combat deployments and 8,000 hours of flying. That's akin to taking off today and not landing until next July 9th. This is an amazing level of experience, dedication, and skill. They obtained this skill and experience through real-world action and training. But training comes with risks. The Army loses soldiers every year in training accidents. In 2021 alone, the Army has had a challenging year, losing 11 lives to date in Army aviation accidents, including 3 men we discussed here tonight. Taking a step back, we must also remember we have an all-volunteer military, and it's been that way since the end of the draft in 1973. Men and women serve today as a sense of duty, a means to a better life, a path to college, a sense of adventure, or a multitude of other reasons. But the simple unifying fact is they volunteered to serve the United States military. I do not know why Skoda, Koch, Creel served, but that's not really the story. The story is they served with honor, humility, and dedication, with a combined 63 years of service. All that chose to serve are bound by the Army values: leadership, duty, selfless service, integrity, and personal courage. These values are the foundation for every soldier to build on, values to hold us together, values to give us a sense of unity and a singular sense of purpose, values that I believe in. Loyalty, bear true faith and allegiance to the U.S. Constitution, the Army, your unit, other soldiers. Duty, fulfill your obligation. Respect, treat others with dignity and respect while expecting others to do the same. Selfless service, put the welfare of the nation, the Army, and your subordinates before your own. Honor, live up to the Army values. Integrity, do what's right, legally, and moral. Personal courage, face fear, danger, or adversity. Chief Warrant Officer Skoda, Koch, and Creel embodied all these values and clearly set the standard for others to follow. These men all served in a medical evacuation, a unit that is near and dear to my heart. Medevac, or better known by its radio call sign Dust Off, has a tremendous legacy that started back with use of helicopters for evacuation in the Korean War. The U.S. military is the only military in the world that has dedicated helicopter assets whose full-time duty is to evacuate the wounded off the battlefield. Dust-off helicopters carry no weapons beyond those for personal protection and only have the big red crosses on the side with hopes that the enemy will follow the Geneva Convention. As I conclude, the medevac mission that these officers chose to be part of can be summed up in the immortal words of Dust-Off pilot Major Charles Kelly. In 1964, as commander of the 57th Medical Attachment, Kelly approached the ILZ in South Vietnam to pick up the wounded, only to find the enemy waiting with a withering barrage of fire. Advised repeatedly to withdraw, he calmly replied to the ground level, "When I had you." This has been the mantra of medevac pilots around the world as they strive to save every life they can, many times to their own extreme peril. CW5 Skoda, CW4 Koch, CW2 Creel all have volunteered to be medevac pilots and carry on the legacy of saving lives on the battlefield. So we all of them have that gratitude for their service and ultimate sacrifice to our country on 20 January 2021. Thank you again for your time this evening as we look to honor these great American soldiers. Dust.
That information should be extremely useful to you as you look at one of the appendixes in our report that talks about suggestions for instructions. Here certainly made definitions of some of the words that you see here, dust off, some of the symbolism that you see here, some of the things that are very important to be included in the memorial site and descriptions that talk about what the memorial is, the essence of it, why it's there, what it's all about, the mission and mantra. We understand as a committee that our small leg of the journey toward establishing the memorial is concluded with the submission of our report. gratefully acknowledge your action to put us in this position to begin the journey. We hope that the information presented to you in writing is helpful, and that here will further help you define for designers, architects, and contractors what it's all about. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Yeah.
I just want to thank all of you for participating. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you all very much for participating on this committee, and Peter, I appreciate your words here that definitely mean a lot to all of us, as well as everything that Buffy mentioned, the committee's work. So I definitely appreciate all your time and efforts. As far as the rest of the board, if anybody has any comments or questions you'd like to entertain at this time, anybody on the committee?
I would just like to thank all who worked on this committee with, everybody worked collaboratively. We were respectful of one another's ideas. We were diligent in the work we did, and I appreciate all of the veterans' information. It was extremely helpful to us. Peter's information, Steve Chitterer's information regarding the dust off, and then we have to read those words are something that I don't think we'll ever need. And especially Preston and came to every meeting and sat through a lot of discussion regarding her husband, and it's very difficult for her to do. And I think she's the same.
I wholeheartedly support everything that Cindy said. I also just want to say, Buffy has done a great job with these meetings. We discuss a lot of things, and come to the next meeting, they'd be crystallized on a piece of paper. Had a way of roping in a lot of stuff, making it concise.
I'd like to also add thoughts. This is one of the most crystallized reports, and it's clear that you really looked at every area and every opportunity to honor these three amazing men, and I think you've done amazing.
And I appreciate it as well. I learned to feel just that. So I appreciate that.
Well, here, we'll remain here if ever you need more information from us, put down this road on the journey for a memorial. Please feel free to reach out.
Can I ask there is dollars cost to this memorial. Is that our objective? Will we pursue the financial funding, or a fundraising effort, or how might that be?
I'll answer that if anybody doesn't mind, but the town cannot solicit donations. So my thought process was to approach an organization that might be willing to lead some kind of a fundraising event, or just be that event, just to fundraise. So I was going to approach the American Legion to see if they were interested in being involved in something like that, and with the idea that, to me at least, that we're not looking at this from a standpoint of, well, let's see how much money we can raise and see what we can do with it. My idea would be more that we're going to do something that's appropriate, and the fundraising thing, a portion of it would be more of a chance for the community to be part of this.
But if it falls short, we're not withheld to backfill it with budgetary dollars.
We absolutely can. Okay, that's fine. And that would be my feeling, is that we do something that's appropriate, and that we don't just put some kind of financial restraints.
Right, you don't put the money like first, you just do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
Cool. And I think it's important for what you said here. I think you'd be hard pressed to find anyone in this community who's moved by the events of January 20th. And I've heard that what can we do? So I think it's important that we, again, through a liaison, give the community a way of doing something. And I think that's important. It's an important part of this project. This isn't a memorial by a committee. It's not a memorial by a board. It's the community's memorial. So,
And John, I know that, and maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong, but, when the, peacemakers did their ride from Chi-Li to Mendon, it was their, spot. They did a collection. And when I tell you that these people who scrambled, and I was standing next, I happened to be standing next to the president of the organization, we didn't get fast enough to give them money. And then we were riding on down to Blackstock in Bristol. And they said that they would be continuing to collect money there. And the owner of Blackstock Trail said, depending on how much they spent, he would be willing to donate a portion of that as well. So there is money coming from that. He said, getting in contact with you.
And I did receive a phone call. He was unable to make tonight's meeting,
Okay.
but he indicated in our September meeting, which I believe is 13th, that he was going to try to meet here then to present a donation. And he asked me, how this would work, and I said, you could make a donation, and that with parameters as to what the funds were used for, and that we, the board would pass a resolution to ensure those funds were kept separate from anything else that were used appropriately according to their donation.
I have to admit, it was chilly, memorable, and stop there experience. To hear those motorcycles, and hear them coming from quite a ways away, and they closed off West Bloomfield Road. So it was chilly. Do you agree? And Mom?
Just add, like, Spencer came from the Richmond Blue Skies Foundation had reached out to me. They did a initial fundraising shirts, but he reached out to me and asked for the memorial done. But actually, yes, in the town, and the organization is interested as well in donating. So whenever appropriate, let me know. I'll be in touch with them.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think this, I think it, as I think you mentioned, Janet, it affected so many people in a small tight community like this. And I think when I saw the people who we appointed to the committee, it made me realize how many fantastic resources we have through various aspects of military service. So I commend everybody on the committee for their participation. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter is giving us to give a print out of his remarks.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
And then, take it, Jack. Along, move this information along further in the changes of the memorial.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate being involved in this community event, and thank you.
Thank you for leading.
Thank you. Appreciate your time and efforts. This board has relied on a couple of times.
Don't lose money.
We'll keep on doing it because Joe's going to.
Find a busy person.
Thank you to Danny. Yes.
Yeah,
Fine. Straight and narrow website. Lots of good help.
I mean, and I just want to say, with Danny, he's basically typing while we're talking, whatever, and there, sometimes he would say something and you look up and it's already there. I mean,
another great asset. If anything else, so we'll move on the agenda. All right, Trevor?
Thank you.
So, number 12 is schedule a special meeting, response from the town for the military memorial. I thought it might be a good idea for us to schedule a special meeting, just because I wanted everybody to be able to absorb the information that we received tonight, you know, to be able to talk possibly in the community about this information and be able to make some determinations, because there are 2 different locations that are being recommended. You know, if you're not familiar with them, I like to, you know, I look at maps, like that, but I like to go and look at pieces of property and things like that. And then if everyone is available, 2 weeks from tonight on the 23rd, we would be here at a special meeting. And, you know, obviously something else could come up on the agenda, but generally this would be the only item on the agenda.
What time?
Sorry,
What time?
7 o'clock.
So this basically, they've made a recommendation. This decision on which you choose is 100% this 500.
Yes. Yes.
So would it be worth going both sides with the document and walking through the 2 concepts?
Sure.
And it's worth kind of pointing out, and Buffy did use the words primary, whatever, but we wanted to, we discussed it at length in the last meeting, rather than 2 proposals on equal footing, we have a primary, we have a secondary. So the first is what the committee, again, we can do what we want.
Right, okay, so the primary is somewhere.
Correct.
Yeah, without,
And it was,
I kind of thought that, but I have.
yeah, it's kind of,
Read
it's,
it.
it's summary.
Where does one says
Got it.
alternate?
Okay.
Yeah, so just,
Got it.
that's one.
So I'm gonna go through the whole thing,
Yeah, so is everybody available that day?
Yeah.
So I thought what we could do is we could have a meeting, like I say, meeting, just really zero in on this specific thing, try to come up with a plan of action, how we would, you know, we don't have to get down to you know, minute details, but we have discussed separately, long before this tragic incident, about a splash park. And it's mentioned in the report. I know that's something that Teresa has expressed favorably as far as being something positive for the community, something positive for her own children to be able to memorialize their father. And I think we should talk about whether or not that's going to be part of the response from the town. And then if it is, then we can, and we decide on the site, then we can, you know, really get the ball rolling.
I think there's like some stuff in here, like, I see that park named after that quote, right? So like, we need to think through how a naming convention would work based on trees not being.
Yes, yeah, I think we could find a way to
Yeah,
work both things in,
yes,
still going forward, but yes. Because Florence did sell that to the town at a very reasonable price. And she still has a lot of family members
yeah.
that are almost right across the street.
Well, the spring park area would be
Yeah, we could name that.
part of it,
Yes,
but not all of it, so maybe just that area would be.
Yeah, sure, sure, but that's what we'll find or discuss.
Yeah. So is there a motion to schedule a public or a special meeting?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye, any opposed? Thank you. Next is to a contract with Lobella to amend the comprehensive plan for the PUD change. So what happened is that when we finished our comp plan, we were still in litigation regarding the parcel that has been known as Mending Green. And at that point, the town board had eliminated that as a PUD and gone back to 5-acre zoning. The judge's ruling said that no, it was a PUD, it is a PUD, it will be continued to be a PUD. And so our town map still shows it, official town map shows it as a PUD. Our website shows it as a PUD. However, in the comprehensive plan, it does not. So that would be contracting Lobella to make that change and enter it into the official record of the town.
Are they gonna also draw a new official map for all people?
No, our official map already has it. That was never changed because we were in the middle of that lawsuit and didn't want to change it until we heard it because of COVID and what did it take, 10 months or something to get a response from court. So anyway, that's the reason we make that change, just so that we have accurate information throughout the town's documents. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next is general code. This is code supplement.
Motion to update town code with 2 supplements regarding local law number 1-2020, local law number 1- not to exceed $529 paid for by account balance B8023.
Did you say 520?
Nancy?
580. Okay. Thought maybe I had. So these are the 2 local laws that we have passed in the last 2 years. And this would put them in, right now they're, it's kind of hard to describe, but right now they're kind of listed separately in the code. And then when they enter a supplement, they intertwine it within the code. And there is a cost associated with that.
Do we have a second, or may I ask my question?
We do.
Okay, second. What is the local law?
The one that we passed last year and this year?
Yes.
Was it one and they had to do with parcels?
We just did one here. Recently.
Excuse me, last year was that one where it was a naming convention for two lots. One another was it?
It was adjoining lots. We added that if you're across the road, you would consider it adjoining. That's it. Right, then we had that fell on the corner of Baker and Fountain Hill. He really adjoined, but Fountain Hill was in the way, right? It was that corner house with the soap. And it was for the solar. And that was in the definition. Yeah, we fixed that. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then this year, just did it a couple months ago.
Who's the second? I didn't hear a second.
You did that? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second it. I'll second it.
I already did.
Oh, sorry.
Access to the website. Perfect. Was that last one? The minutes from the. No, it's not in that meeting.
All right, well, we don't have to hold up the words.
Yeah, you don't need to hold it up.
It's escaping me. I can't remember what it was. It's escaping. But it's something we all had a public hearing here. We all sat here for it.
I know.
I don't know why. But anyway, This would,
That had to do with the, or we had the public hearing.
that's right.
That was the only,
Yeah.
it was the reverse situation. Yeah, and you guys voted for it, and I voted.
Yes,
Oh,
that
okay.
was, that was to
Amend all others
Oh, others,
besides
okay.
amending green. And not
That's right. That was July. That's July.
I got one.
only worse.
Thank you.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Thank you. Next, we have Building Department Inspector, Code Enforcement Officer.
I'll make a motion to appoint Tom Voorhees and Tim Fess as deputy building inspector and code enforcement officer at $25 per inspection.
Second.
So Corey's gonna be out of town for a family wedding and a little mini vacation, so to speak, for an extended period of time this month. So Tom said that he would help us, and Corey did talk to Tim Fess, and Tim is the deputy building inspector for I think it's Honeywell. And Tim said he'd help us out during
Does
that.
this have any time limit?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that should be term to expire December 31st.
Because I don't think this is a bad idea to begin with. To just help Corey out some more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And while we're talking about code enforcement, remember our trailer guy there at Mendon Center?
Yeah.
Now we got a building falling down there.
You got what? I
A
couldn't-
building falling down there,
Oh,
and one trailer is still left. So I think maybe Tom should put it on his list to pay a visit. Have you driven by there?
Oh, yeah.
The building's, well, I mean, it's not even a building, it's some sort of half a barn or something, but it's good wind and it's kind of
It's a structure that they stick come down and.
He's been
and
sad.
he's-
Yeah, he's been cited, I know, but he needs to be recited. And that second, it's a UPS trailer sinking deeper into the ground, that should be removed too. That was part of the original site that both would be gone.
It's been going on for years.
Yes,
Yes.
well, it's kind of a unique area there, but remember that one meeting.
John, do you know how long Corey's gonna be gone?
I think it was, do you know, Bob? I think it was like, it might be 2 weeks
Oh,
or 10 days. They're in those, around there somewhere, I forgot, but they're going to the West Coast.
And so I have a question, why then is it until December 31st?
Well, that way, if we needed them to do something, you know, if he was sick or something like that, we really should have a deputy.
Oh, I agree. I
And
agree.
also that if he was incapacitated for some reason,
Right,
that we had somebody who could take care of things.
so we could renew this if we wanted to later.
Well, normally we'd do this in the organization,
Okay,
but when we did the organization meeting, we really didn't have anybody in mind to be the deputy at that point. We were just trying to get the position filled at that point.
understood, thank you.
Any others? All in favor? Aye, any opposed? Thank you. Next is purchase of 2-speed radar monitors.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
So these monitors they're solar, they'll give you a digital readout. We did a request for proposal. They met all the qualifications. Traffic Logic company, Traffic, that should be a capital T. And Andy and I had talked, and then I talked to Sheldon. We can put them on any town road. However, we can't put them on a state or a county road without their permission. So we think we might be able to get permission eventually from the county. We'll look into that, but I think in my opinion anyway, I think, you know, it's in some of the tracks and some of the roads that are town roads, they become very useful. They're very mobile, they're easy to move. And, you know, we get constant complaints on speed.
It's a great idea.
It's, I think it's money well spent. It is out of our B fund, so it is town outside the village, so you will not see them in the village of Fungi Falls. But because the town outside the village taxpayers are the ones paying for it. All in favor? Aye. All any opposed? Thank you. Next is writings of Mendon. This is a release of the maintenance bond. So this is phase one of writings of Mendon, and it's been reviewed, that road has been reviewed by the highway superintendent, the highway engineer, and and Corey. Everybody looked at it, signed off on it, so that would, we would release the maintenance bond of $23,424.80. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next is to accept a estimate to refinish the doors at Town Hall.
So moved.
So these are the wooden doors that face the parking lot. They take a beating. And all, this time of year, the sun does a number on them. In the wintertime, they get hit with snow, sleet, rain, you name it. Because of the historic nature of the building, we're not really able to do anything as far as a closure to help protect them in certain times of the year. So, they're beautiful, but they about every other year they need this, every 2-3 years. I don't want to, get to a point where they can't, they have something happens to them that can't be fixed, so to speak. So I would like to, I think this is good, and it's the entrance to Town Hall. I think it's, it's important to have it look nice. We got a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we have a donation from myself for the military record of Mendon cemeteries. This was done in 1932.
I'll make a motion to accept the donation from John Moffett, location military record, town of Mendon cemeteries.
I'll second that.
The book's back there, I brought it in case anybody wants to see it. But it was put on eBay by a gentleman from Fairport, Ed O'Brien's, a friend of Ed O'Brien saw it, sent a link to Ed. Ed forwarded the link to me. I contacted the gentleman, bought it. I'm not looking for any kind of remuneration from the town for the cost of it, but I would like it to be in its rightful place, and I'd like it to be available for generations to come. There is some extremely interesting information in there about the military records from the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, and the War of 1812. Two of my grandfathers are listed in there. That helps spark my attention, of course. And the gentleman said that he bought it in an auction in Lima. So I asked him where he got it. So how it got to that auction and where it's been for the last, 90 years, I don't know the answer. But it needs to be back here. I mean, there's, it tells about captured and died at Andersonville prison during the Civil War. There's those kinds of details in that book. And when you look down on that back table.
Is that something that the historic group would be interested in?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, our town historian, the historical society, there is a gentleman locally who has done some extensive work on paper and how to preserve it. He's done work for the Smithsonian, and I'm going to be contacting him as far as how best to preserve those documents, because it lays out the cemeteries and where each grave is, that type of thing, which is, of course, extremely important going forward. So I wanted it something in the record that showed that, was back in the town's possession.
It's a great find and.
Absolutely.
And a generous donation.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Back to public comment.
Start of the meeting, you mentioned open meeting law training and how you have to have addresses if people are remotely connecting. I also went to training that answers that question as to why, so that if the public wants to show up at that alternate location, they can.
You are absolutely correct. Yes. Yes, I did get that from that training. I guess I was saying, if I'm in Boise at the Holiday Inn, why do I have, I'm traveling for business. So now if somebody wants to be in Boise and come to my hotel room and participate in the meeting, it just seemed a little bit odd to me. But yes, so I agree with what you're saying is that, yes. So
So you just point out why it's not used very often, because you don't want 20 people to join you in your hotel room.
yeah, maybe there'd be snacks or something. We don't provide that here. But no, thank you, Danny. That is to me an interesting part of that, because if let's say you've tested positive for COVID and you're on this board and you want to participate, but you obviously don't want to be here, maybe you would be doing it from home.
So I did a meeting from a distance.
You did, yeah, that's right.
No big deal.
How was the presentation?
It was spectacular.
The presentation of the open meeting laws.
Oh.
I assume we have a new person.
Yeah, you can assume, yeah, you can assume that. No, it was pretty dry.
It was pretty dry.
She could have used Danny for computer, skills as far as presenting goes, because it was all up in the one corner.
Oh, dear.
Remember that?
That wasn't the same one, I guess, because the one I saw, it was a full screen presentation of her
Well,
slides.
maybe it was me who needed the computer skills.
Good event, yeah.
That probably is true. So, anyway, anybody else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Yeah.